The summer of 2020 ushered in the largest movement in American history as millions took to the street to protest for racial justice, police reform, and civil rights. And during the peak of that transformational period, a book debuted. Isabel Wilkerson's Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, delved into what Wilkerson says is the unspoken caste system that has shaped America. The book is littered with historical anecdotes to back her up. Fast forward to today, where Emmy-winning director Ava DuVernay brings this story to life on the big screen.
Sanford Police Department, this is Sean.
Hey, we've had some break-ins in my neighborhood, and there's a real suspicious guy. He looks like he's up to no good or something.
You're trying to make sense of racism, but your thesis is flawed.
It was all lies. They knew we weren't inferior. You don't escape trauma by ignoring it. You escape trauma by confronting it.
I sat down with Ava DuVernay earlier this week to discuss this amazing movie. Joining us now, Oscar-nominated, Emmy-winning filmmaker and director of Origin, Ava DuVernay. Ava, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Origin is based on Isabel Wilkerson's 2020 book, Caste. The book itself is a phenomenal book. The movie is stunning. At the Venice Biennale, it got a 9-minute standing ovation. Why did you feel this movie needed to be made?
Well, the book just captivated me. I mean, it revolutionized the way that I thought about myself, my place in the world, and really the language with which I would describe, myself. And so I thought the set of ideas put forth, the philosophy of the social hierarchies that we find ourselves within, was something that was urgent and needed to be discussed. And so I think that there's no more prominent art form than film to get a lot of people talking about things quickly and all at once.
Well, in terms of the ideas that it's put forth in the book, Isabel Wilkerson's main argument is racism isn't the real problem. Caste is the real problem. And in the book, and I think even more so in the movie, you draw that line to show how the treatment of African Americans, the treatment of Jews in World War II Germany, and the treatment of the quote-unquote untouchables in India, there is a through line through all three of those seemingly disparate groups of people.
Yes, I mean, as I understand it, it's not that racism isn't the problem. It's that racism is a problem that is much deeper and more complex than we currently understand it, because it sits on top of caste. And so when you are addressing and thinking about race and racism, and you're only going down to a surface level and you're not getting underneath, what is the foundation, what is undergirding that, right? Then you can't really solve for it because you're not looking at it completely. And so caste is a foundation of all of our isms: sexism, racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia. Underneath it is the idea that someone is better than another person based on a set of random traits, and that contributes to power and status in society. And so when you apply that idea across the spectrum, across continents and cultures, to India, to Nazi Germany, to America, and certainly, the struggles of African American people, you start to see connective tissue. It starts to feel like less isolated incidents and more of a kind of a throbbing pain that it's going to take all of us to heal. That's how I read the book, and that's how I approached the film.
Now, a major difference between the book and the film is its focus.
Yeah.
Isabel Wilkerson, the author of Caste, focuses in on her research by weaving in some of her personal story. You, in the film, in Origin, make her the central character and how she went about researching and writing this book. Why did you decide to do it that way?
Well, when I was writing the screenplay, I was looking at the book and searching for characters. You need characters in a movie with actors. And so who would we follow? Who would we care about? And, this is not a documentary because it's not just conveying information. I want to convey emotion. I want to stir your feeling. I want to open your heart. And so I need characters to guide us through the information that's being shared. And as I'm looking through the pages and searching for characters within this nonfiction text, I find her. She rises off the pages when she uses the first person to talk about her research. And I start to think, wow, if I could write a story about a woman thinking, uncovering, investigating a myth that affects us all, right? The ways in which these hidden arcs of history are really secrets that we've kept from one another and that we need to start to share. If I can use her to weave that through, we might have a movie. And so that's how we approached it.
Now, another way you got a movie is through an unconventional way. You did not get major funding from a major movie studio. You turned the industry on its head and you went to the Ford Foundation.
What? Ford Foundation.
Where'd that idea come from? Did you go to Darren Walker, the president of the Ford Foundation, or did Darren Walker call you up in that Darren way? Ava, I hear you're looking for funding.
The former. I went to him. We weren't turned down by studios. We didn't go to studios.
Interesting.
I understand that they're looking for Marvel movies, they're looking for action films, they're looking for certain kinds of films that are guaranteed to turn a profit with audiences. This is a little bit more of not a sure bet. It is a film about a smart woman thinking her way around the world and writing a book about very serious subject matter.
When the lights come up in the theater, what do you hope people take away when they leave after seeing Origin?
I hope they're interrogating who they are in the world. So often with my film Selma or 13th or When They See Us or whatever I make, people ask, well, what should I do? And I think the question here is not what you should do, but who you should be. I truly believe that if all of us focused a little more on who we are, who we're responsible to, and how we can be a little bit better to the people that we think we're better than. I'll say that again. Who do you think you're better than? If we can interrogate that, excavate that, really define that for ourselves, if more people did that, the earth would kind of tilt on its axis, bend a little bit more towards justice.
The name of the movie is Origin. Its director, Ava DuVernay. Thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.